Welcome to the Usage and Compliance section of the P-Card training. Each card has an authorized monthly and single transaction limit. The standard limit is $2,000 for transaction and $10,000 for monthly. Your specific limits can be found on your PaymentNet profile. Authorized limits can be increased in times of higher or lower purchase volume. Each card is also set up with certain category codes, also referred to as MCCs. MCCs are the way the merchant's credit processing system is set up to take credit cards. The default MCC group that comes on every P-card is known as MCC Group 907. 907 is a group of merchant codes that are strictly for commodities such as office supplies. Some of the other popular MCCs are MCC 950, which is a medical usage option that allows you to purchase products through medical companies or a hospital. This option is restricted to medical science programs and cards authorized for student group travel. MCC 952, which is an option that is strictly open for gasoline purchases for commodity use only. Please note that sometimes merchants are not categorized correctly, and this could cause a card to decline. We will discuss how you can identify why a purchase is declining in the Cardholder Online Maintenance section. For example, though, if an employee has a card with MCCs 907 and went to a gas station to purchase a few bags of potato chips, the transaction would decline because the gas station is not allowable under the standard setup. If they went to Meijer to purchase the potato chips, the card would be accepted because Meijer is categorized in the generic MCC 907. Some purchases will require prior approvals or need to be pre-qualified prior to making the purchase. Items needing pre-approval are computer purchases and peripherals. These must be approved via eSARF. Your department should be able to help you submit and process the approval request. Services, including maintenance agreements, require purchasing department approval. Alcoholic beverages are normally not allowed. Exceptions are spelled out in the Business and Special Expense Policy. An alcohol authorization form must be completed prior to making any purchase containing alcoholic beverages. A link to the alcohol form is located on the bottom of the Business and Special Expense Policy. Hazardous materials, chemicals, or controlled substances are not allowed unless granted an exception for its business purpose. An exception must be on file with financial services. Stamps are not an allowable expense either. Postage can be obtained through the FSU mailroom. Off-campus sites or specific projects or events requiring an actual postage stamp may be granted, but this also requires that an exception must be on file with financial services. The exception authorization form is found on our website, listed on this slide. Travel expenses are not allowable purchases on generic or named P-cards. If there are travel-related expenses that must be paid via credit card, the employee must obtain a corporate card. Please see the Financial Services website for more information regarding the corporate card program. Ferris is a tax-exempt institution. Be sure to inform your merchants and verify that tax is not charged prior to leaving the place of business. Out-of-state vendors are not required to honor FSU's tax-exempt status except for states in red on the purchasing web page map. To locate the map, go to the purchasing homepage, click Forms, and then Tax-Exempt Certificates. The FSU logo, torch, bulldog, and the words Ferris State University are all trademark licensed. Our licensing is maintained through LRG under Mark Sheehan from the President's Office. This does not apply to paper products or products for internal use. A list of vendors can be found on the purchasing webpage. Every time you go to use a vendor, check the listing of licensed vendors for any updates, because a merchant's license may have expired and they may not have decided to renew. As a rule, contracts are not paid via P-card. They require coordination through the purchasing department. The University Contracting Authority is the President, the Vice President of Administration and Finance, or their designees. A contract may be paid on a P-card if there is a valid reason and the purchasing department grants an exception. They will be looking for vendor insurance, as well as setting up the vendor with a 1099, which is how the independent contractor is taxed. Please keep in mind that your card cannot be charged until goods have actually been shipped. This is to protect you and the university from any non-performance by the vendor or even liquidation with no recourse. Transactions can be disputed with the bank for 60 days after the post date. Any transaction over the 60-day mark becomes your responsibility. Deposits can be paid if supported by proper documentation. Proper documentation would include a quote stating deposit requirement and final date of shipment. However, total purchase plus deposit plus final payment must not exceed $5,000 or the transaction limit, whichever is less. For vendor selection, the purchasing department has a list of preferred vendors with which we have contracts or special pricing with. For example, we currently have contracts with Staples and Coca-Cola. While we have an exclusive contract with Coke, we must honor any third-party contract. For example, if we sign a contract with the Holiday Inn for a banquet and they have a contract with Pepsi, we must honor that contract. Also keep in mind that each card has 3 authorized addresses for delivery of products purchased on a P-card. First is your department address, second is the financial services office, and third is the IT delivery location in the Swan Building. Lastly, splitting a charge that exceeds a card limit is inappropriate use, so knowing your limits before a purchase is important. If a charge is higher than the limit on the card, a limit change form can be filled out to allow the purchase to be made. We will show you how to locate your limits in the Checking Limits module. You should be monitoring the activity on your card on a daily basis to verify the transactions that are posting in PaymentNet are legitimate purchases, as well as making sure they match your receipts. For shared use cards, all users must complete a departmental user agreement form to be able to use the card, and the form must be kept on file in your office. Departmental user agreement forms must be completed annually as a refresher to appropriate usage, especially for someone who doesn't have a card in their name. The departmental user agreement form is in place to protect the cardholder from someone with the intentions of misusing the card. Remember, whatever happens on this card is your responsibility. A log must also be kept for each shared use card to monitor who is using the card and the time frame. You must also have some form of tracking system for receipts. This could be a log or something as simple as storing receipts that are not yet reviewed in the front pocket of a binder. While you are required to have a tracking system, we refrain from dictating a certain system and advise you to use what works best for your area. For card security, you are not allowed to share the card number of a card in your name with anyone. Do not copy, email, or fax any card or account number. A way around this is entering the last 4 digits only and request that the vendor call for the full account number. When purchasing products online, look for secure websites. A secure website will have a lock or another indicator that will signify the website is secure or encrypted. All cards are to be kept in a secure or locked location. A shared use card must be kept in a secure location with the card checkout log. For receipts that have full account numbers printed on them, you can use a black marker to black out the full account number. If you are leaving your position and you have a card in your name, please return it to Financial Services. This will remove you of any further responsibility for this card. For a shared use card, contact Financial Services with the date in which you will be leaving to remove your name from the card. Financial Services will then work with your department to determine who will assume responsibility of the card. To change any information on the card, you will need to complete a cardholder information change form, found on our website. It is imperative to monitor card usage in PaymentNet regularly to assure prompt identification and reporting of potential fraudulent usage. During normal business hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., immediately notify the Financial Services Department if you suspect any fraudulent usage on your P-card. Outside of normal business hours, notify J.P. Morgan Chase by calling 1-800-270-7760. You should also contact the Department of Public Safety for any stolen plastic. You can reach them at extension 5000. J.P. Morgan Chase and Visa offer coverage for unauthorized or fraudulent purchases on a card issued in an employee's name. So the date that the card is reported stolen or lost to the bank is when fraudulent charges become the bank's liability. Any fraudulent charges made before the card is reported lost or stolen are the university's liability. If a cardholder has unauthorized transactions and is unable to obtain repayment from the employee responsible for making the transactions, Visa offers a recovery program, provided that appropriate disciplinary measures have been followed. Be sure to document lost or stolen cards in writing, copying the cardholder's supervisor and the card administrator on all communications. After a card is reported lost or stolen, a new card will be promptly issued to the cardholder by the bank, and financial services will notify the cardholder when it arrives. A card that is found after being reported lost must be cut in half and sent to the Financial Services Department at Pracken 252. The university has established guidelines for how we handle situations of inappropriate card usage or management. To find a printout of the abuse guidelines, go to ferris.edu, click on Faculty and Staff, then Financial Services, then Card Program. Under this tab you'll find Procedures, References, and Training, where the abuse guidelines is located. The abuse guidelines define minor and serious offenses. It also explains the corrective action steps of the different occurrences and what actions will be taken with the cardholder or the approver. Corrective actions range from repeat of training, temporary loss of card privileges, and up to and including termination of employment for intentional fraud.